President Donald Trump threatened Apple and other smartphone manufacturers with a 25% tariff unless their devices are built in the United States. Trump initially said the tariff would apply only to Apple, an unusual move to single out a specific company in trade policy. However, he later expanded the threat to include all smartphone makers. While Apple designs its products in the United States, most iPhone assembly occurs in China, which remains embroiled in a trade war with the United States. Apple has announced plans to shift some production to other countries, including India, but Trump said this would not satisfy his demands. In a post on Truth Social, Trump wrote that he had long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that he expects their iPhones that will be sold in the United States of America to be manufactured and built in the US, not India or any place else. Apple's main rival, South Korea's Samsung, finds itself in a similar situation, with most of its production in Vietnam, China, and India. The constant pressure from the White House has taken a toll on Apple's stock price. Apple shares closed down 3% in New York on Friday. Other smartphone companies are likely to take a hit as well. Meanwhile, let's listen to what Trump has to say about his tariffs on the smartphones.
It would be more. It would be also Samsung and anybody that makes that product. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair. So anybody that makes that product, and that'll start on, I guess, the end of June. It'll come out. I think we have that appropriately done by the end of June. So if they make that product. Now, again, when they build their plant here, there's no tariff. So they're going to be building plants here. But I had an understanding with Tim that he wouldn't be doing this. He said he's going to India to build plants. I said, that's okay to go to India, but you're not going to sell into here without tariffs.
US President Donald Trump has rekindled his trade war with the European Union. He has threatened over 50% tariffs. Trump first raised the issue of EU tariffs in an early morning post on his Truth Social network. He doubled down later in the day, telling reporters in the Oval Office that there was nothing the 27-nation bloc could do to change his mind. While adding to this, Trump also denied that his tariffs would hurt American businesses. Let's in fact listen in.
I'm not looking for a deal. I mean, we've set the deal. It's at 50%. But again, there is no tariff if they build their plant here. Now, if somebody comes in and wants to build a plant here, I can talk to them about a little bit of a delay. But, while they're building their plant, which is something I think that would be appropriate, maybe, we'll determine that.
Trump imposed sweeping tariffs on most of the world on what he called Liberation Day on April 2nd, with a baseline 10% plus steeper duties, including a 20% levy on the EU. Markets were thrown into turmoil but calmed after he paused the bigger tariffs for 90 days. Trump has since claimed some early successes in deals struck with Britain and with China, the world's second biggest economy, but talks with the EU have failed to make much progress, with Brussels recently threatening to hit US goods worth nearly 100 billion euros with tariffs if it does not lower the duties on European goods. Wall Street's main indexes were all down around 1%, 2 hours into trading, with the tech-heavy Nasdaq at one stage losing 1.5% before rallying, while Apple shares sank 2.5%. The EU's trade chief said the bloc would work for a trade deal with Washington based on respect, not threats. We have guest Martin Sa-Erides as international affairs expert joining us from Quito, Ecuador. Thank you for joining us. My first question to you is, why do you think President Trump is ruling out a trade deal with the EU at this point?
Because I think Trump thinks this is much higher than previously threatened levels, doubling the April 2 tariff. So he thinks it's not on the interest of the US market.
And is this a negotiating tactic of Trump, or is this the US administration serious about maintaining such high tariffs?
I think Trump is very serious about this. Trump hinted at delaying tariffs only if the EU companies move manufacturing to the US. So that's a milestone. I think that's one of the main reasons why Trump is doing this.
And according to you, could this stance backfire on the US economy in any way? Like, what message does this send to America's allies, particularly in the EU?
Of course, I think markets are reacting negatively. Stocks and dollar may fall. Talking about capital economics, it warns it could cut Germany's GDP by 1.7% over 3 years.
And it leads me to ask, what could be the impact of a 50% tariff on EU goods for both American consumers as well as European exporters?
So the impact on European economies, especially exporting heavy countries like Germany, it can be a possible inflation effects on the US market.
And is this Trump's approach isolating the US on the global trade stage, or is it part of a bigger strategy?
I think in a short term is of course hurting the American economy, but I think Trump is doing this in a long-term strategy that can be very helpful for the U.S. economy, since these kind of tradings are seen by Trump as not good enough for the U.S. in a long-term strategy. So I think this is part of a bigger picture.
Thank you, and you will stay with us. We move on to our next story. Iran's foreign minister